Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We are in the thick of preseason basketball. It's basketball, but it's not really basketball. It's like 75%. It's like 70. No, it's like 65% of real basketball. Something like that. Somewhere in that general vicinity. I'm going to have some thoughts on that in just a moment. But first, a couple orders of business. First of all, thank you to the great Andrew Claudio and Jeremy Cohen, who filled in for me this past weekend with the normal beginning of the week show as I was finishing up my vacation in the happiest place on earth, Disney World. Yes, took the fam down to Florida for I guess about 5 days. This was really our first kind of family vacation, first vacation of any kind that we've had since before we have had kids. If you we've driven places and stayed in Jersey for a couple nights or Pennsylvania or something. That doesn't really count. And then we go down and visit my mom in Florida every February. But again, we're staying in like a guest room. This was like the first real true vacation that we've done since before we had our oldest daughter. And I got to say, it was a blast. Disney World lived up to its name, lived up to its reputation. My older daughter had a fantastic time. My younger daughter did not know really what was going on, but that was fine. And special shout outs to whoever conceived of, built, and executed the vision of the Guardians of the Galaxy ride in Epcot. Man, let me tell you, anybody listening to this going down to Disney World anytime soon, make your way to Epcot and wake up at 7 a.m. to get yourself on whatever the virtual queue is. I forget how we did it. I think, oh yeah, that's right. My wife got some kind of lightning lane thing where you get to put a time in or you get a time to go to the ride, whatever it was. It allowed us to go on that ride, and man, amazing stuff. Best theme park ride I think I've ever been on. A close second though, I would say a tie between the two Star Wars rides at Disney, at Hollywood Studios, right? So the Rise of the Resistance, awesome stuff. And then the Millennium Falcon ride was, which I'm forgetting the name of. Both great rides. Anyway, so thank you again to Andrew and Jeremy for filling in for me while I was in the Florida sun. And thanks to Andrew for recording the interview that you are about to hear with the director of the Jeremy Lin documentary that we, of course, celebrated last week. That celebration is continuing into today's episode, 38 at the Garden. Frank Chi. So we got a chance to meet Frank at the premiere. Amazing guy. Andrew obviously gets to talk to him on this one for further celebration of the documentary, and they get into all kinds of fun stuff. So stay tuned for that. But before you hear that conversation, I just wanted to share a couple thoughts because I realized that other than the first post game after the Pistons win, I haven't really shared my thoughts on the Knicks preseason. I'll be brief because, I'll have a more opportunity to do this. I think I'm recording a mailbag episode in a couple days, but just, briefly, impressive stuff that to me seems as valid as preseason can seem against two teams who will almost certainly be in the bottom quarter of NBA teams this season. So lots of grains of salt here that you have to take this stuff with, but I think it's okay to get excited because the things that look good seem at the moment to be real and sustainable. First and foremost, for me at least, And I know he's not number one for a lot of people. We'll get to the guy who's number one for a lot of people right now. But Jalen Brunson, as you know from listening to the podcast all summer long, I thought the moment that Jalen Brunson signed with the Knicks, he immediately became the Knicks' best player. And I have seen absolutely nothing to dissuade me from that notion through 2 preseason games. He has not only a command of the offense, like I know we've all been, celebrating the Knicks finally got a point guard. Well, I think there was some question about at certain points through Jalen Brunson's career, like, okay, he's a point guard, but he's really more of a combo guard. And like, how much of a true point guard is he? Can he direct a full-time offense as a starter in the NBA? Like, these were still questions that I think people had up until last season. And now finally given the role, not only is he running the show like a seasoned veteran, but he's also just absolutely brilliant with the basketball. And I know he didn't shoot it well in the second game. I've seen enough. He is every bit as advertised. His bag is bottomless. And I think the fact that the Knicks now have a guy for the first time, really, I guess, since Derrick Rose's not first season here, his second go around with the Knicks, the We Here season. That's the last time they've had a guy who it's like, okay, we know this guy can get us a bucket pretty much anytime we need. Well, now they got 2, and they're both point guards. We'll see if Rose has lost a step. He looks pretty good so far, so that's been encouraging as well. It's another positive sign. So very high on Brunson. Next, I'll go to RJ and Julius for different reasons. One, the RJ shot. Oh boy, I'm buying it. I'm buying it every which way. Give me all the stock I could possibly attain without breaking like FCC laws. If the shot is real, and again, I think it is, it adds such a dimension because if the shot is real and he just progresses at a natural rate on defense, it really takes out any possible downside to the extension. And like, I know we've all been singing the praises of the extension, and I love the extension for what it is. And I think it's going to be a bargain, but like that extension was signed more for what RJ has shown on the ball than what he, the certainty of what he does without the ball in his hands. And if he is this level of shooter, and the shooting is back after it kind of went away for a season, it's just so important because it means you could use him in so many different ways. And if he continues to add to his arsenal when he has the ball, and like there are still some holes there that worry me. I did not love his decision making in the second game. I think he still takes too many shots that I just don't love. I think he needs to make more passes on those drives to the rim. But like all in all, he's looked good. He's had some nice finishes, but the shooting is where it's at for me. And Julius, I got to say, I'm even more impressed with Julius because Julius, I think, especially in the second game, I just like how he went about his business. I like how he was looking to pass. I like when he was looking to pass. I like the pace that he's playing with. It's like all the things that all of the people who were in Julius's corner would say over the summer about like, look, what if he adjusts his game? Well, it seems like he's at least making a pretty overt effort to adjust his game, which that was always for me the biggest hurdle. Would he make the effort to say, okay, I know I am now one of 3 big, between him and RJ and Jalen Brunson? It seems like that is what has happened. Maybe he was told in no uncertain terms they didn't have a choice, but he's done it, seems to be embracing it. And the pulling it off is actually, for me, I'm less worried about that part. I think he could pull it off. It was just about, is his headspace correct? And it seems to be so far. Those are my top 3. Obviously, for most people, it's all about Obi, and Obi just looks great, and the dunks, and he hit 4 threes, and like, yeah, I love all that too. I think Obi looks really great. I think both Obi and Quickly, you could put them both in the same basket in that they came in as rookies. Quickly, obviously, was more advanced than Obi as a rookie, and it paid off in playing time and big shots and everything. But like, Obi made a leap from year 1 to year 2, or he had significant growth. Let's just say that. Quickly, it wasn't as linear because he came out of the gates firing, maybe had a bit of a rough time for most of, or at least the first 2/3 of last season, and then really turned on the Jets towards the end. I guess why I'm not making as big of a deal about the two of them is because I sort of half expected what we're kind of seeing, which is guys who going from year 2 to year 3, which typically in the NBA, that's the time where you're going to see the biggest leap. They look like kind of what I expected them to look like, which is like, I don't know, 5th or 6th or at worst 7th men on a really good basketball team. And it sets up this kind of very interesting situation, which we've been theorizing about, would be one word, for the better part of the summer and really since the end of last season, which is like, the Knicks don't have the talent at the top that most of the other teams in the league have. Almost all the other teams in the league have, you could argue. But how many other teams have guys who are there? Because really quickly, I still think like their 6th man is Derrick Rose. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I still think Derrick Rose is their 6th man, and he's the guy that when he's in there, he's still going to be playing a pivotal role in a lot of ways as the guy running the offense. So if Quickly is like your 7th man, and what does that make Obi your 8th man? And I guess whoever doesn't start at shooting guard is like the 9th man. Like the point of this little thing is to not delegate anybody to being the 8th or 9th man. It's to say that the Knicks have a bench of guys as of right now who, all of whom, and throw Hartenstein in there, Hartenstein, excuse me. All of these guys would be maybe the best or second best bench player on, I don't want to say every team in the league, but like a vast majority of teams in the league. And when you look at even the depth of their starting lineup, we just went through Brunson, RJ, and Julius. Like, this is a capital T team. And the Knicks had a chance to add in my estimation, a capital S star this summer. And whether they botched the trade negotiations and that's why Donovan Mitchell isn't here, or whether they actually really did put their foot down and they were like, nope, we are offering this much and we will not offer more than that. And that is it. Whatever happened, like, they don't have that guy and they're going this different route. And I think this season is going to be a test of how far you can get in the NBA without forget a top 20 player. Like, I don't know. Could you make an argument that Jalen Brunson is a top 40 guy? Sure. I think you can make an argument that he's a top 40 guy. Hell, RJ Barrett, you can make an argument that he's, by the end of the season, he might be considered a top 40 guy. Julius Randle was a top 40 guy 12 months ago. So like, yeah, you could make arguments for all these guys being higher than their ESPN rankings. I think ESPN had them all in like the 50s and 60s or whatever. But they don't have, the guys that typically you rely on to have big time seasons as a contending team. We'll see if the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. And what would that look like? What record would that produce? I don't really know. I think we see what it looks like. I think we see it's a brand of basketball that is unrelenting, and that there is never, presuming good health or decent health, I don't think you're ever going to see a drop off with this team where it's like, oh man, how are we going to get through this next stretch? Or like last season, that stretch was the first 5 minutes of the game because the starters were in and the starters couldn't do anything right during certain segments of the season. I think all that's in the past. And I am encouraged enough from what we've seen, again, through 2 preseason games against bad teams, to feel like this is going to be a functional starting unit on offense. It's going to be a good unit on defense. and the bench is going to be the best bench in the league. And I think if you give me those three things, and I think I've seen enough to buy into all three of those things, I think you're looking at the very least at a winning basketball team, and maybe something a little bit better than that, but we'll see.